Welcome everyone. We're back in Playing with Forms, and we're going to be talking about a lot of topics that are going to help us to work and with ourselves internally. And here I am with Adriana again, and Adriana is going to be, I guess, you're going to be hosting today.
Yeah.
As
Hello, everyone. My name is Adriana. Hello, Eduardo. Welcome to Playing with Forms. As every Thursday, we're getting together to share everything that the high superior beings, how do you call them again?
higher
So,
dimensional beings.
yeah, those share with Eduardo, and then he channels that information to us through, and that's what in these books playing with forms that we really suggest I personally really suggest you guys to start reading the books, especially the first one. And regarding that book, we last time we were together we talked about the first part of the book where Eduardo shares with us a lot of information, and at the end we mentioned the importance of start observing our thoughts. um, well, in regards of that sharing, I mean that observing our thoughts, it is very important for us to understand that we are immersed in this world of automatic response. And one of the tools that Eduardo shares with us is exactly that, to start like making a pause in our lives, and start like being aware of our thoughts, because most of our thoughts are not ours, or are just in automatic, as a result of our education, or something that the community or society share with us. So Eduardo, I think you should start talking about that. Why we I mean, should we start doing that, and what would be like the positive consequence in our lives of that?
Well,
Sorry.
yeah, I think I often talk about just looking internally what's going on in there, but that's something we actually never do because we are used to living a life where we think that everything happens automatically, but it's not that it's happening automatically, it's just that we're not aware of it. We're
Mm-hmm.
living unconsciously. So the moment we start looking at what's happening, and I'm talking about the thoughts which create or is related to an emotion and the action that we do. So basically we are just looking at us, how we're experiencing reality just by paying attention to it. The thing is that we don't do that, and that changes everything because the moment you start making everything conscious. When you were let's say we have been living our the whole life unconsciously, and suddenly we start paying attention to everything that is going on inside, we automatically change things to a more, because we start observing things that we are doing automatically and we were not doing before. I mean, we decide to change them, but we by ourselves, just by looking at the way we're experiencing things internally, we're going to start deciding which thing we want to keep and which thing we're going to uh, do differently. We were talking about some examples about
Yeah.
the how I experienced this at the very beginning, and something that I noticed was that, for example, I live in Slovakia, and something that I saw in the culture here is that people, when people are inside the elevator, they say hello and goodbye, but people do that only when you are inside an elevator. So it means that if you're getting inside an elevator, if there's someone, they will say good hello, and when you're leaving they will say goodbye. So I started to do the same because I was used to it, but then I started to notice that. But the funny thing is that if they are 1 meter away from the elevator, they don't do this. So I think this is a cultural thing, and I mean every culture has something like this. And I started to pay attention to why I was doing it. And maybe this is something very small, but if we start comparing and observing ourselves, all the things that we do automatically, it's because we were programmed to do all these things, and we
Yeah.
were not paying attention why we were doing it. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with doing all these kind of things, but since we are not aware of why we are doing them, then we we don't know what's going on. We don't know why we're living, why we're doing all the actions, all the thoughts, all the emotions that we are experiencing, because we are using automatic mode. So I started to pay attention to small things, even like saying hello, good morning, good evening, or enjoy your meal. All these kind of things, I started to pay attention, and there is nothing wrong with saying these things because, of course, society, we were programmed
Yeah.
by society to say these things, and society is expecting this from us. So the moment we stop saying these things, we are going to be judged by society. But the problem is not what we say or what we do. The only problem is that we are doing it unconsciously. The moment we become conscious of those words or those thoughts that we are using or the intention that we
Yeah.
have, that changes everything.
Yeah.
Because so, for example, if we keep saying hello, that we are aware that we are saying hello and the intention that we're putting to those words, then that changes everything. Because
Yeah.
actually, from time to time, I was
Yeah.
not saying anything. People were saying
Yeah.
hello to me, and I was not
Yeah.
saying anything back, just to remind myself that I was in control of what I was saying
Yeah.
or or my intentions. So it's not. I mean, probably for them I was rude, but that was not my intention. My intention was just to make sure or remind myself that I was aware that I was in control of what I want to say and why I want to say it and when I want to say it. It's
Yeah.
not that it's something that I was programmed by society.
Yeah.
So
I think, Eduardo, that exactly what you're mentioning. It's crucial for us to realize how many things during our days we do because we are supposed to do it. So there's no point for us and there's no intention. So that implies that it's not beneficial for us either. And if I look at uh, from the energetic perspective, uh, there's emptiness in whatever we do. And if at the end of the day I try to summarize all the energy I wasted, it's going to be dramatic. So that's what one point that I mean, one point that is positive about, observing our thoughts and being conscious of what we do and what we think about. But there's another positive thing about that. And I think, I don't know if you agree with that. Once I notice and I am able to observe my thoughts, to make a stop and observe my thoughts, and I kind of start selecting which ones are my thoughts, I'm going to be able to control the way I think. And the positive in the long or medium term will be that I will be able to create the life that I want. And I'm going to be happy with it, right? And
yeah,
I'm going to be able to just get rid of those, you know, ways of doing things. Like, for example, when I was younger and my kids were very young, I used to do things that in Mexico, for example, was supposed to do. I was supposed to do so many things and I did it. And now that I am 25 years later, is like, why did I do that? It's like, make no sense, has nothing to do with me. And I think it's a waste of time. So, also in that point, I mean, from that perspective, it's sad that we waste so many days of our lives doing things that doesn't have to do anything with me, right?
yeah, because we were programmed by society to do specific things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and since we were programmed during many years, we just do them automatically. So what happens when we eventually start to pay attention to the intention that we're having by every word we say, every thought, and every
Yeah.
action? So
Yeah.
then we'll start to look at those things and think by ourselves and say that, wait a second, I understand that society wants me to say that and they kind of expect this from me, but now I'm aware of these actions or these words that I'm saying, and I want to decide by myself what I'm going to do with that. Even, I mean, society might judge you for not saying the words that they expect you to say,
Yeah.
but now you're making that unconscious decision. It can be a thought, an emotion, or it can be an action. Now you're conscious of it and you're making a conscious decision, and
Right.
therefore that's the beginning of living consciously. Now this is just one small thing, but let's say that we start paying attention to every single thing that we experience during our day, including thoughts, emotions, and actions. And then everything, little by little, of course, because it takes a lot of practice and discipline, we are
Mm-hmm.
going to make those thoughts and actions conscious. Therefore, we will know if we want to keep them or not. We will start making conscious decisions, and we'll start to realize many things that we have been doing our whole lives. It's not something that we consciously decide to do. We might not even like it, but we were programmed to do it. And since we have been doing it our whole life, we just
Yeah.
continue doing it because it's in our programming.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that you mentioned that, that makes me think about, for example, all this the concepts and the ideas I got from my parents or society regarding, for example, being successful or being healthy or being able to do some things or not able to do that. It's something like very automatic, and it's like someone is dictating something it's supposed to be on my own. It's like I have the right and the obligation to make decisions, uh, like congruent or incoherent decisions, but we just lost the ability to do it because we are immersed in this super fast world of making decisions, and especially now that it's like crazy with social media and everything. But it's necessary to make a stop. What happened to your life, and what changes you noticed once you started being able to make these observations of your thoughts, Eduardo?
Well, there are many things that you start to realize, and we are going to be talking in the next videos about this. But there are many, I will call them consequences, and these are just consequences of what happens to you by start looking at what's really happening. And like for example, we might think that we are relaxing, but we're not. Like many people believe that when people are tired, they say, I want to rest. And they usually go and watch TV. And we might think that watching TV is actually resting, but there's still something going on. What is happening is actually that we stop paying attention to things, because when we are doing something, we have to pay attention. Our attention is there. But when we are having entertainment, which is actually one way to manipulate, I cannot say this word, but how to control
Yeah.
them, how people think. So entertainment can be it is
Distraction.
it's a
Yes.
way to stop being aware of your awareness. To stop
Yeah.
you stop being conscious of where you have your attention.
Yeah.
So we are not relaxing by watching TV. If we want to relax, it's better to stop having any thoughts at all. The thing is that when we are watching entertainment, which is actually very common and it's everywhere because it's used against us. It is a way to save. Being entertained is the opposite of discipline, because observing this requires your attention to be there, to be observing yourself internally often. Therefore, your attention has to be there. And when you're not, the opposite of that is being entertained and like not paying attention anywhere,
Yeah.
because you don't have to, there is no, you're not doing anything. You're not putting your attention is not internally. It will be a very different, and I'm not saying that watching entertainment is bad, but most of the people watching some entertainment, they're doing it unconsciously. So it is possible to, I don't watch movies often, but when I do, I'm more focused on my reactions to it, how I react to what I'm observing. So it's like
Yeah.
the conscious person is observing how I consciously observe what I observe. So that
Mhm.
changes everything, because once you're aware of of how you observe your reality, then it changes the way you start interacting with it. You're not just focused on the screen or whatever is on your reality in front of you. You're also aware of how you're interacting or reacting to it, because at the end we are the projector. We are the one observing that. So we are the one who
Yeah.
are we are aware of our attention, and we know
Yeah.
where we're putting our attention, and then we start to make a conscious decision based on that.
Yeah, I think that example works perfectly, Eduardo, because having a break or going to have some resting time uh, means exactly that, and we do exactly the opposite. How many times we just turn off the radio and start listening to awful music, and the lyrics of the music sometimes is super violent and aggressive, or we watch some series that are invaded by violence and everything. So we are really unaware of what we are doing all the time. And definitely, now that I think about it, I think that if we really learn to be more conscious of our thoughts and of the elections we make during the day, we will be able to have a healthier and happier life, and really take care of our energy. It's like a bulb, that has like, or a battery, that we are wasting so much of our energy. And I love that, because while we are resting, I mean, just to follow with this example, we are just being like, I don't know how to do it, but they I'm not they, but it's like we are just giving away something very precious, that is our energy, or
Mhm.
our time, I mean. And so, yes, it makes me think a lot about so many things that I've done and in automatic. And last time that we talked about this, and we agreed on making this kind of exercise about making a pause and observing. It's not easy, but I think the more we do, the better we get at, practicing and practicing. And the first thing that I realized personally was that so many thoughts, I have them and I don't know why. You know, it's like, and I was reading about that. Our mind, the only job it has is to think, and we have like 30 or 80,000 thoughts a day, and 90 something, 92 or 93% of those thoughts are subconscious. And those thoughts are those that really control our lives, or decisions. Imagine that. For me, it was like, oh my god. So this observing goes directly to those kind of thoughts that come from I don't know where, right?
Well, some of the first, I mean, when I started with this, because I was talking to the Syrians and they were telling me, pay attention to your thoughts, and I was not really getting understanding why they were telling me this, but when I started to pay attention, one of the first things that I started to notice was that, for example, I was observing my thoughts in the first day, and I started to realize, I started to be aware of what was going in that day. And then the next day i started to I continue observing thoughts. And then the next day, and I started to notice a pattern. And this pattern was that many thoughts that I was having the first day, I was having
Mm,
also in the second day and also in the third day. So what I'm trying to say with this is that we don't probably don't realize, because we are not aware of our thoughts,
exactly.
but we're having many many thoughts that we have one day, we're having it the next day and the next day. So our whole life is
Always the
basically
same.
just doing the same thing, so we don't really learn so much. So I mean, of course there are some things happening differently and we think differently from time to time, but the basic, I mean, a lot of thoughts that we're having one day, we're having pretty much the whole rest of our lives. So
Oh
there are
my
not,
god, that's terrible.
yeah, so there are many things that we are just repeating ourselves. And this there's someone who is writing Ivana. And
Ah,
so you see that the attention is very important, to be aware where we have it. It's
yeah.
not just one thing is having our attention somewhere, another thing is being aware where we have our attention. For me, it is pretty much like walking on a road and focusing on the end of the road, but we're not looking at the floor where we're walking, because maybe we don't have good shoes, or maybe the road is damaged. So it's like, observe if we suddenly start observing where we're walking, we'll probably realize that we are
Mhm.
not walking comfortable because we don't have the right shoes. So just by start looking inside,
Right. Yeah.
just by start looking as a consequence of observing ourselves, we will start to make decisions. So it's not, I mean, there are so many things that probably somebody can tell us what to do, like do this, do that, don't eat this, eat this. But when we start paying attention ourselves, we'll be conscious of what's going on. Therefore, start making decisions because we will notice what is needed, what is not working well. So instead of
And you,
focusing on
yeah,
at the end
and
of the road, we start focusing on why
sorry.
we are walking with bad shoes.
Yeah. And yeah, you describe exactly, that we are going to be able to go exactly in the direction we want to go. We will be able to say no and to say yes to things that make sense to me. So that is the first thing that I see that is going to be absolutely beneficial to us. So, what I mean, if we really want to practice, Eduardo, all these observing our thoughts all day long, how can we do it in like 3 4 steps, just to simplify the way we can start doing it, like consciously?
Okay, so there first we need to be aware that the thoughts are not happening automatically. We are told that the thoughts are happening automatically, but
Yeah.
it's not true. It's just basically what is happening is that we are just not aware of them. And and another thing that is important to say is that we are very aware that having several negative thoughts can bring us negative things like stress and sickness and many other things.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
why don't we think that positive thoughts can bring us health? So that will be the opposite. So there are many things we can start doing with. There are many consequences. As what I was talking about, the road, looking at the road and not paying attention to what's going um, on inside us. So, and I'm sorry, I forgot your question. So your question is like, what can we do? Um,
Yeah, like if you say do in 4 or 5 steps, how can we do? I mean, just start observing that road where we are walking into. I mean,
yeah.
just making a pause, doing things slower, or what would be your recommendation to really start doing it?
Yeah, so we have to be aware that this is a lifestyle. This is not something we do 5 minutes during the day. This is eventually the goal is to have a lifestyle like this, being
Yeah.
aware, living aware, conscious. So this is
Mhm.
why I often talk about living consciously, which means being aware of every action, every thought, every emotion that you're having, so you have the control of your experience. Because at the end, you're the
Right.
one. It doesn't matter what's happening there. What matters is what the way you're choosing to experience it because we're choosing all the time. The only difference is that we are not aware of that choice that we have made. But the moment we start observing ourselves, we start making conscious choices. And so the best will be for now. Of course, we have some exercises we're going to be talking about. The best for now will be just stop any single time, stop uh, every activity that we're doing, and just look inside and say to ourselves, what was the last thought that I had? Even if we can go 2 3 thoughts
Mm-hmm.
behind and catch them, just being aware of them because we cannot change them. We might not know how to change them, but we need to be aware of them because in order for us to change something, we have to be aware of them. So the first step is for us to start looking, start observing, and eventually we will know what to do. But the first we need to start looking inside, and we might realize later what's going on, but start doing it little by little. It requires discipline because it requires our attention to be here. So that's discipline. It's the opposite of entertainment. And if we're gonna have entertainment, it will be good to have conscious entertainment, so we are aware of how we are experiencing the entertainment. That's
Right.
another thing that we can do. Try to be aware once we are entertained, because entertainment without being aware, that's gonna create the opposite of discipline. It's gonna keep us away from being more aware of ourselves.
Exactly. Wow. So to be aware makes sense in terms of For me, it would be like doing start making decisions and choosing what makes sense to me every time. For example, when I wake up, I have my morning routine, and then that routine includes A, B, C, D, E, and maybe the A, B, C are not really something that makes sense to me, or I don't understand why I do it, and start just observing why or what are those um, actions that I make that are in automatic. No, it would be like, I mean, starting with our morning routine, what we do, how we do it, why do we wake up at certain time, I mean, do we dress like this or we eat this or that. We would be able to see how many things that we just kind of do just because someone else told us to do it. um, and so I guess this is an invitation for everybody who is watching this video or this broadcast to just make a stop and try to start having a more conscious life, where everything you do have to make sense, have to make you happier, have to be congruent with the life you want to have, and to make you smile. I think that will bring us in midterm happier and healthier and richer life, right, Eduardo?
Yes,
I think so.
I'm sorry, but some things are moving here. I'm alone, but some things are moving. But anyway, um,
Oh.
so I don't know what that means. But
Okay,
anyway, we're out of time
coincidence.
now.
Okay, so guys, everyone who is watching us or are gonna watch us in the future, remember to subscribe to our channel, mark the little bell that is there so you can know when we are in the air, and then follow us every Thursday at the same time. We're gonna be here talking about all the information that is in the books, and buy your books. And thank you, Eduardo, and we will see you next week, next
Thank you,
Thursday.
Adriana. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Bye
Bye
bye,
bye.
everyone. Take care. Bye bye.